I'm a timber cruiser for a private logging firm. We found a tree that wasn't on any map, and I think it's waking up. I'm writing this from a Motel 6 about 3 hours south of the Olympic Peninsula. My hands are shaking so bad I've had to rewrite this intro 4 times. I've got a bottle of cheap whiskey on the nightstand and a chair wedged under the doorknob. I don't know if they're looking for me. I don't know if it can look for me, but I have to put this somewhere public. If I disappear, or if I end up as just another hiking accident statistic, I need someone to know that Sector 44 Bravo isn't empty. It isn't empty at all. For context, I'm a timber cruiser. If you don't know what that is, basically, I'm the guy who hikes into the deep shit before the logging crews get there. I survey the land, estimate the volume of sellable timber, check for disease, and flag boundaries. It's grueling work. You're hiking off-trail in jagged terrain, carrying 40 pounds of gear, usually wet, always tired. But I loved it. I loved the isolation. I don't love it anymore. 3 days ago, my team was assigned to a remote parcel of private land bordering the national forest. It was supposed to be a high-grade survey. Quick in, quick out. Check the quality of the Douglas firs and report back. The team was small, just 3 of us. There was me, there was Sarah, a grad student on her first summer contract, bright-eyed, obsessed with botany. And there was Miller. Miller was the crew boss. He was a 50-year-old stump of a man, chain-smoked Marlboros, and had skin like tanned leather. He'd been cruising timber since the late 80s. The first day was standard. We hiked 6 miles in, set up a base camp, and started running our transect lines. Things got weird on the morning of day 2. We were pushing toward a ridge line when I noticed the GPS drifting. "Hey, Miller," I called out. "According to the topo map, there should be a ravine here. We're standing on flat ground." He stopped and looked at the ground. "Old landslide, maybe? Filled it in?" "A landslide that filled a ravine perfectly flat and grew 100-year-old trees on top of it?" I asked. That's when I noticed the silence. True silence in a forest is physically painful. Usually there's a hum. Here the air was dead. It felt heavy, like we were walking underwater. We pushed forward. As we walked, the healthy green ferns faded. The undergrowth thinned out, replaced by a carpet of grayish, pale moss that crunched like dry bones. The Douglas firs began to look twisted, their branches curling inward like they were hugging themselves in pain. Then we smelled it. Copper, rotting meat, and something sweet, like overripe peaches. We stepped into a clearing. It was a perfect circle of dead earth, maybe 100 feet across. Nothing grew there, just gray, powdery dirt. And in the dead center stood the tree. It was massive, but it wasn't a fir or a cedar. This thing looked like an anatomical drawing of muscle system stripped of skin. The bark was smooth, pale pink and gray, spiraling up the trunk in thick, ropey cords that looked disturbingly like tendons. The branches were bare, jagged, and terminated in sharp black thorns. But the worst part was the sound. Despite the air being dead calm, the tree was moving, a slow, rhythmic expansion and contraction. Thump, thump. He was faint, vibrating through the soles of my boots. "Miller, wait," I said as he walked toward it. "We shouldn't." "He needs to tag it. It's big timber." Miller walked across that gray, dead circle. I watched his boots kick up dust. When he got close to the trunk, the smell hit us in a wave, that sickly, sweet copper scent. He pulled out his increment borer, a T-shaped tool used to extract core samples. "Miller, don't!" I yelled. He placed the bit against the pale, fleshy bark and began to twist. The moment the metal pierced the surface, a sound tore through the clearing. It wasn't a wood crack, it was a shriek, a high-pitched, wet squeal like a pig being slaughtered, but amplified by a subwoofer. Scream! Sarah dropped to her knees. Miller jerked back, but he didn't let go of the borer. "Help me!" he screamed. "I can't let go."
I ran forward. The tree wasn't just bleeding sap. A thick crimson fluid was pulsing out of the hole, spraying over Miller's hands. It was reaching. The red goo was moving up his wrists, latching onto his sleeves, hardening instantly like epoxy. I fumbled for my belt knife and slashed at Miller's heavy canvas vest. The red sap sizzled where it touched the fabric. I managed to slice the strap, and Miller threw his weight backward. We both tumbled into the gray dust. The borer remained stuck in the tree. The shrieking stopped, replaced by a low, angry thrumming. We scrambled back to the tree line. Miller's hands were stained red, but not burned. The veins in his forearms were bulging, dark black against his tan skin. "I'm fine," Miller snapped. "We hike out." We didn't make it to the truck. Darkness fell too fast, forcing us to camp in a small gully 2 miles away. We didn't build a fire. Miller said the smoke would lead it to us. Around 10 p.m., the forest woke up. It started with whispers, wind moving through branches that sounded like syllables. Hollow, feed, root. Then came the mimicry. "Elias?" It was Miller's voice, clear as day, coming from deep in the brush. "Elias?" I unzipped the tent door. "Miller!" "Elias, the map! The lines are moving!" The voice called again. It sounded exactly like him, but flatter, like a recording. "Shut up!" the real Miller roared from inside his own tent nearby. "Don't answer it!" The voice in the woods chuckled, a wet, gurgling sound. Then the voice changed pitch. "Mom, my leg hurts." Sarah gasped in the tent beside me. That's my little brother. He died 4 years ago." "Mom, it's cold. The roots are cold." "It's not him," I hissed, grabbing her arm. "It's that thing. It's messing with our heads." For hours it went on. Psychological siege warfare, voices of people we knew, voices we didn't, screaming, singing, crying. I must have dozed off from sheer exhaustion around 3 a.m. I woke up to the sound of a zipper. The campsite was gray with pre-dawn light. I looked outside. Miller's tent flap was open. "Miller?" I crawled out. His tent was empty. His pack was there, but his machete was gone. I saw drag marks in the mud, not like a body being dragged, but like someone walking with heavy, unwilling feet. The boot prints were spaced weirdly far apart, digging deep into the soil. They led back the way we came, toward the anomaly. I shook Sarah awake. "Miller's gone. He went back." "We have to leave," Sarah said, eyes wide. "We can't leave him." We packed our gear in record time and followed the tracks. The closer we got to the circle, the louder the thrumming became. Thump, thump. The smell was overpowering now, like a hospital dumpster full of old bandages and flowers. We broke through the tree line into the dead zone, and I saw why Miller had come back. He was standing at the base of the tree, hugging the trunk. "Miller!" I screamed. He didn't move. As I ran closer, I skidded to a halt. The pale, fleshy bark had split open like a vertical mouth. The ropey tendon fibers had parted, and Miller was pressed into the opening. The tree was closing around him. The pink fibers were woven into his skin. His left arm was already gone, consumed by the trunk. The bark was knitting itself into his spine. "Miller!" I swung my hatchet, aiming for the wood next to his shoulder. Thwack! A spray of red-hot sap hit my face. Miller's head snapped back. He looked at me. His eyes were gone. In their place were knots of wood, swirling spirals of grain that pushed out from his sockets. His mouth opened. It was full of gray moss. "Elias." The voice came from the tree, vibrating through the trunk. "Elias, it is warm." "Sarah, help me pull him." We pulled. Miller screamed. It was a wet, tearing sound. "Stop! You're ripping him!" Sarah shrieked. Miller's head lolled toward me. "Do not unroot me." Then the ground beneath us rumbled. Roots erupted from the gray dust like striking snakes. They wrapped around Miller's legs, anchoring him completely. Another root lashed out at me. I chopped at it. It felt like chopping meat and ice. "Run," Miller gurgled. The moss in his mouth was spilling out over his chin. "Run before the graft takes." I grabbed Sarah. "Go! Go now!" We ran. We didn't look back, but we heard the sound of wet bones snapping and the squelch of flesh merging with cellulose. And we heard the tree sing. A chorus of 1,000 voices screaming in ecstasy and agony. We ran until we hit the truck, and I didn't stop driving until we hit the highway. That was yesterday. I dropped Sarah off at the hospital. She was catatonic. Search and rescue is out there now. They reported finding biological remains in a bear den. They didn't mention a clearing. They didn't mention a tree. They are lying where the tree moved. But that's not why I'm drinking this whiskey. When I took a shower an hour ago, I noticed something. On my left wrist, where the sap splashed me, there was a red rash. I scrubbed it, but it didn't come off. I looked closer in the bathroom mirror. The skin isn't just red. The texture is changing. It's getting hard. It's swirling. And about 10 minutes ago, while I was typing this, I felt a thumping. Not my heart. It's coming from my wrist. Thump, thump. And I can hear a voice. It's very faint, traveling up my arm nerves. It's Miller's voice. "Bring us water, Elias." I'm going to cut it out. I have my knife. If I don't update this, don't go into the woods in Sector 44 Bravo. If you see a clearing with gray dust, run, because the roots go further than you think, and they are always hungry. Update 1. I cut it out. There was no blood, only sap, and underneath the skin, there was no muscle, just wood. It's deep. It's in the bone. I can hear them singing.